Hello guys, and welcome to this new Python tutorial. Today we are going to talk about one of the most used data structures in Python, which is lists. A list is defined as an ordered collection of items, which means that each item has its own index, and it can be called or accessed using this indices. As I said, it is the most used among Python data structures. It is changeable, which means that we can add, we can delete or remove items from the list. It allows duplicates, which means that we can have more than one word or one number in the list. And also lists can be nested, which means that we can have the items inside the list as lists. To start, we can create an empty list. For example, we can start by my list equals to, and you add square brackets like that. So when you want to know the type of your data, you can just write type and it give you lists. You can have here note. We cannot use the keyword yes list as the name of the list. Okay, we cannot use, for example, here list equals to this empty list, for example, because it will generate an error. You can also create an empty list using directly my list, we call it 2 equals to list, the function, the built-in function list. Okay, so when you print my list 2, it will give you an empty list. As we have said here, list cannot be used as the name of the list because we can use it to create another list. Here we have the function, and also to create not only an empty function, but we can have some items in our list. For example, my list 3 equals to, you can write list, you have here the parentheses, and you also add another parentheses. Okay, inside the list we can have different data types. Okay, so you can write a comment here, we can have different data types inside list. For example, we can have string, okay, 1, we can have an integer 2, we can have float 3.5, we can have a boolean true, for example, or false. We can have also another list, for example, this, for example, is a list, for example, okay, etc. So if you're gonna run that, you have type of my list 3, it is a list. Okay, and here in Jupyter Notebook you don't need to write, for example, print my list 3. Okay, you can directly have my list 3 like that, and it will print it to you. Okay, so we have the different data types inside our list. As we have said, we can have the item as another list. You can have boolean, you can have float, integer, you can have string, etc. To know the length of your list, you use the function len. So len my list 3, it will give you 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the whole list is considered as one item. Okay, if you want to know the length of the empty list, for example, my list 2, you have 0 because it is an empty list. An important thing to do before starting modifying or working with your list is to create a copy. So you can write list copy, for example, okay, equals to my list 3 dot copy. Okay, so if you are going to print that, you have your function. Sorry, we use the function, so you have to add the parentheses. You use the copy function to copy your list if you want to modify it in your program, because if you are going to modify this list directly, it will change directly the memory location of your data. So for example, if you want to change 1 to 2, it will directly change it from your list. But here, since you have a copy, you can work with your copy. You can add, you can remove, you can do all what you want in this list. But if you want to call the first one, you will have it unchanged. Okay, so this is a very important thing to do if you want to work with your list in your program. To access your elements, for example, the element number, first element, you start from 0. Okay, you start from 0. So this is indexing, right? Call this indexing. Sorry, call this indexing, right? If you want to, for example, access the last element, so this list, you can use list copy, for example, -1. Okay, so -1 gives you the last element, so 0 gives you the first element, so 0 gives you the first element of the list, and -1 gives you the last element of the list. Okay, so just copy that. We have here -1 gives you the last element of your list. Okay, and if you want to access, for example, from 1 to false, you can directly start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you write list from 0 to 5. Sorry, list copy. I'm sorry, it is not defined. Opa. List copy, right? So as I said, from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have written here 5 because it accesses the element 5 minus 1. Okay, so it starts from 0 to 5 minus 1, which means that to 4. To 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and for example, if you want to access 1, then 3.5, then false, you can use here list copy, and you increment by 2. Okay, so you increment by 2, so 1, 3.5, and false. Okay, this is slicing, we call this slicing, and here we increment by 2. We increment by 2. Okay, so this is about slicing, indexing, and incrementing by different value that you want. So you start from, this is the start, this is the end, so we'll access the element this element -1, and here the value that you want to increment. For example, you want to increment by 2, by 1. As you can see here, by default it is 1. Okay, so this is about accessing your elements inside the list. For example, if we want to loop over the list, for example, to know the elements of the list, we can use the for loop for element in what is called list copy. Okay, list copy. So print element, print. So it will print for you the elements line by line. So this is for looping through list, for example. Okay, so we use the for loop to access the element of our list. Sorry. And if you want to change, for example, the first element or the second element, so we have list copy, right? List copy. We have 2 equals 2. For example, we change it to string. Okay, right. And if you are going to implement that or to print that, you will have 1, 2, okay, 3, 4, 5. Okay, if you want to change it, for example, from 2, so from this one, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we write from 2 to 5, for example, list copy, for example, from 2 to 5 equals 2, for example, we write 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, and 5, for example. Okay, and if we print that list copy, so you will have the values changed. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is about changing the elements of your list. For example, if we want to remove this element, so we can write list copy, okay, dot pop, and we have the index number 5. Right, so it has removed this list for us. If we check, we find that the list does not exist anymore in our list. Okay, so this is to remove an item, to remove an item using index. Okay, so using index, we can do it also by using the del function. So del list copy, okay, and we want to remove the fourth element, for example, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so list copy, and we have only the 4 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we can also remove using we can also remove using the remove function. So you have this list copy dot remove, for example, we say 3. Okay, run list copy, and we have 1, 2, 4. Okay, so we have 3 is removed and 5 also is removed. So here we remove using the name of the item. Okay, here by the index, here by the index, and here by using directly the name of your element or your item. If you want, for example, to add elements, so here we have removing, and here we will add. So add elements using the append function. So list copy dot band, and you write the word of, for example, that you want to add. So here we have removed 5, we will add 5. Okay, right. If we copy that fast, we have 1, 2, 4, 5. We have removed the number 3, which is in the position 0, 1, 2. To add the 3 in its position, I mean in its first position, we can use the insert function. So we write list copy dot insert, and we set that position number 2, and the value is 3. Okay, so if we're gonna run that, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and also if we want to add more than one element to our list, for example, we have add list equals to, for example, 6 and 7, we can use the extend function. So you have list copy dot extend, and you put add list. Okay, so if you are going to print that list copy, we will have the elements added. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we can also, so here we add more than one element. So here we have add an element by index and now. Here we add element automatically to the end of the list. Okay, and we can also sort our list. So list copy dot sort. So if we're gonna put that, for example, list copy equals to, if you want to print that, it will order it depending on the letters. Okay, so we have F, O, S, T, and T. All right. And finally, if you want to delete your entire list, you can use del and list copy, and this will directly delete the entire list for you. Or you can, if you want to clear it, you can use this. So list copy dot clear, and this will return to you list copy with no items, which means that it will be an empty list. So this is all for the lists. I hope that you have learned new things. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.